We've already seen some factoring techniques. Now, one important thing you have to watch out for when you factor is that sometimes you have the ability to pull things out of every term at the same time. So one thing you always need to do when you factor, if there is a GCF, if there's anything that's common to every term, you need to factor that out first. Once you do that, everything else is the same. Just make sure you do that first, because if you don't, you're going to be making your problems a lot harder than they really are. Let's take a look at example 1. For example 1, if you notice, all three coefficients are divisible by 3. And then, as we usually do with GCFs, we take out the lowest power. So I'm going to take out 3x squared. Once you do that, you will get 6x squared minus 7x minus 5. Much easier to deal with. And now when we do the product sum method, you can just ignore 3x squared on the outside. We'll just write it back in when we finish. So our product and our sum, we'll just look at the inside parenthetical. So our product here is negative 30. Our sum here is negative 7. Now our product is a negative number, which means that our two numbers that we're looking for are going to have opposite signs. In this case, negative 10 times 3, because negative 10 plus 3 is negative 7. And so now, again, I'll just ignore 3x squared on the outside. We'll just reincorporate it at the end. 6x squared minus 10x plus 3x minus 5. And again, you just factor out whatever you can factor out. In the first two terms, we can factor out 2x. We'll get 3x minus 5. In the last two terms, there is nothing we can factor out, so we'll just put 1 on the outside. We'll have 3x minus 5. And so this now factors into 2x plus 1 times 3x minus 5. And now, to cap this whole thing off, I'm just going to write 3x squared, and then I'm going to put 2x plus 1 times 3x minus 5. And this is actually our final answer right there. For example 2, all three numbers are even, which means I can factor out 2. We can also take out an x, and it doesn't appear we can take out anything with y's, so we'll have to leave that as it is. Let's see what it looks like once we've factored out 2x, and see if that's something to go on. Well, we have 8x squared plus 14xy minus 15y squared. So this will look just like what we had in the last video. We'll use the product sum method yet again. Our product is 8 times 15, which is negative 120. Our sum is going to be 14. Now, when you're doing the product sum method, you don't necessarily need to have everything exactly right the first time. You can try this multiple times. If you ever don't know what to do, just start at 1 and work your way up. For instance, this would be negative 1 times 120. Well, negative 1 plus 120 is 119, so that doesn't match. Negative 2 times 60, well, negative 2 plus 60 is 58. That also doesn't match. Negative 3 times 40. Negative 3 plus 40 is 37. Also not a match. Negative 4 times 30. We get negative 4 plus 30, which is 26. So we are getting warmer. Negative 5 plus 24 is 19. Negative 6 times 20. Negative 6 plus 20 is 14. So now we got that match. Now we have something here that matches what we have there. It took a while, but we got it. We're just going to have 8x squared minus 6x plus 20x minus 15. But don't forget your y's. So we should have little y's there, and this should be y squared. And out of the first two terms now, I'm going to factor out 2x. I will get 4x minus 3y. Out of the other two terms, I'm going to have 5y, and then we're going to have 4x minus 3y. And so now, using factoring by grouping, we can factor this into 2x plus 5y times 4x minus 3y. But again, we can't forget that GCF, so I'm going to write 2x times 2x plus 5y times 4x minus 3y. So just remember, when you do these problems, you need to not forget the GCF, and you also need to factor it out before you do anything whatsoever. Keep that in mind for the rest of this chapter, because if you don't, you'll make these problems a lot harder than they really are.